So this is a 74-year-old patient with a typical nuclear cataract. And we'll discuss fluidics here, namely the value of a high intraocular pressure and high vacuum. A little sting here, that's the intraocular lidocaine, because both of those things work synergistically. The high intraocular pressure and the low vacuum pressure create a pressure differential across the port of the phacotip. And that pressure differential is what drives. Think of the pressure in the eye as pushing lens material into the phacotip, and the vacuum in the needle is drawing or aspirating. But in truth, it's the difference between the two. And the greater that difference, the greater the tendency, or force, if you will, wet the cornea, on the lens material to enter and be aspirated. So I'm going to make the capsular axis here around 4.5 millimeters. So I'll be using an intraocular pressure setting of 100 and a maximum vacuum with no limit, meaning 700 plus. Well, there is a limit, of course, and that's 760, because that's the atmospheric pressure at sea level, and we're about at sea level here in New York, hopefully a little above it. Okay, so testing infusion capacity, very important. You want to have good infusion capacity out of both sides. We're now on our sculpt mode, so we're using relatively low conservative flow and vacuum levels, 18 cc's a minute and 300 of vacuum. How wide to make the bowl? About 3 phacotips, 2.5, 3. A phacotip is about 1 millimeter wide. Sculpt down till you get a red reflex. Now you're ready to chop. A little bimanual rotation. We'll go to quadrant removal now. So you can see I've got a vacuum limit of no limit there. So the nucleus is now divided. You can see it's kind of brittle, that nucleus. And this is more than a quadrant. It's like a heminucleus, right? But notice how it's just drawn right up out of the bag.
Dr. Mackool?
Tom, I'm going to ask you not to talk now, so your head will be nice and still.
Okay.
Thanks. Now the other thing that's awfully impressive is that one can achieve the kind of vacuum levels that you're watching me achieve and have a chamber that's so solid. I remember the days when 50 was the maximum vacuum we could use. Here we are at more than 700. And you can see how that nucleus just hangs on the tip as it's emulsified. Where can it go? The pressure in the eye is pushing it in. The vacuum in the tip is aspirating it, and it just can't go anywhere. There's our 90-degree INA tip. And here you can see the IOP setting is lower. 60 is all you really need for a nice rigid globe cornea, good optics. I use vacuum level as high as 650. And now I'm just going to vacuum the undersurface of the anterior capsule. And I do that by just partially depressing the petal. So the vacuum will get up into the 100 and something range with some occlusion. You can have a setting that limits that for you if you'd like, so that you can have a vacuum setting. I just use it on linear and just depress the pedal enough. Okay, so now we're ready to insert the IOL. And before it completely unfolds, I just depress it into the capsular sac. Hand me a capsular rexus forceps. So there are a number of ways you can have haptics release. If they don't release, you can use capsular rexus forceps. Just squeeze the bulb, and that'll release them. Or you could use a separate instrument while you're in with the INA, and just like a little hook or something and move them. So the OVD is now aspirated from beneath the IOL, and then center the IOL and take the OVD out from anterior to it. Stromal hydration. I use a 5 cc syringe and a little 27 gauge cannula. So I just irrigated the angle of the OVD, and next we'll put in the vancomycin, and we will be done. But Fluidics, you can make them work for you. All right, Tom. Finished.